going to a gay bar and being targeted by an abstinent boss. He forced me to stay up late every day to revise the plan. With dark circles under my eyes, I sent him a message. "When do we go to bed?" My boss replied, "When do you want to sleep?" Me, "Now." Boss, "Are we moving too fast?" Take it back and revise it. If you can't do it well, you won't be able to leave work tonight. When I heard this, I was numb. This is the fourth time. I suspect that he didn't even read the plan and was targeting me on purpose. Because I went to a gay bar yesterday and was caught by him. Michael is afraid of homosexuals, a well-known secret in the company. I still can't forget the way he looked at me at that time, as if I was some dirty thing that polluted his eyes. At that time he asked me if I liked men. I had drunk a little bit of wine, and I didn't know how high the sky was, so I said shamelessly, "No, I like you." Michael's eyes changed when he looked at me, and there was a coldness in his eyes. It was Alan who pushed me that brought me to my senses. Quickly change your words. I mean, I like Michael, a lively and cute sister. Michael said sarcastically, "Do you deserve it?" Thinking back on it now, I want to slap myself in the face. Since then, he has banned me from entering such places. I am not satisfied and plan to appeal to the central government. He was disdainful and gave me the following answer. Dirty, messy, I don't like employees with messy private lives. One sentence killed me. Joshua, I know what you are thinking. Anyway, I will supervise you from now on. Get out of here. Ever since Michael targeted me, the following days in the office were miserable. My workstation was transferred, moved from an inconspicuous corner to the position closest to his office. There is only a wall between him and me. Even my colleagues have noticed that Michael has been specially caring towards me recently. When they heard about the glorious thing I did in the bar, they silently mourned for me for a few seconds. Michael is a well-known sistercon. I even told him in front of him that I like his sister. I'm sure he didn't kill me. Hearing this, I felt terrible. I was so distracted even when going to the bathroom that I didn't know when Michael came in. I turned around and met his gaze. You're cute. My hands shook, I put on my pants and ran away. He is a pervert. Who is the kind person who stares at someone and calls them cute? Still afraid of homosexuality? He's the only gay man in the office. I was looking at my shoes that were splashed with water and wondering what to do when my cell phone rang. It was a message from Michael. There are clean shoes in the office cabinet, but no one is there at the moment. I was surprised and delighted to receive this message. More of a shock. I couldn't believe that this was the message Michael sent me. I was afraid that someone had possessed me. But there was no better solution at the moment, so I had to go in anyway. Open the cabinet door. There was an exquisite gift box inside. When I opened the box, I found a pair of sports shoes. It's obvious that these shoes are not Michael's size. What does he do with men's shoes in his office? Damn pervert. However, I was thinking that the shoes were the perfect size for my feet. Michael pushed the door open. I don't know if it was my illusion, but I actually saw a rare warmth on his face. Do the shoes fit? The size is perfect. How much are the shoes? I'll give it to you. He didn't take my money. He explained casually, the shoes were a birthday gift from my sister to her classmate, but they are no longer needed. You can wear them. I said the gift box looked so familiar, it turned out that I had seen it in the bar that day. He helped me and I knew what to do. It's all about social skills at work. Then I'll treat you to a meal. I thought Michael wouldn't agree, but he actually agreed for the first time. My eyes widened in disbelief. Why, you regret it? I waved my hands hastily. No, Michael is so kind. I'm so happy. This is a great opportunity for me to repair my relationship with him, so I won't let it go. I specifically inquired about Michael's food preferences and thoughtfully invited him to a Cantonese restaurant. The meal went very harmoniously, until Alan showed up and broke the disharmony. I don't know where this guy came from, and his words are shocking. Wife, you actually cheated on me? Are you worthy of me? My blood boiled and I wanted to poison him right away. Shut up. Who is your wife? You, my wife. Alan was my college roommate and he pursued me at the time. But we have the same number, and neither of us wants to be the one at the bottom, so we can only be friends. That day was the first time we went to a gay bar after knowing each other for so long, and we ran into Michael. Stop yelling. As I warned him fiercely, I watched Michael's expression, afraid that he would look at me strangely. Alan, the blind guy, sat down and put his arm around my shoulders. He said confidently, "What? You eat it all and then throw it away?" I glared at him. I suspect this guy was drinking. He is like me, he talks nonsense after drinking. I was afraid that Michael would misunderstand, so in a hurry, I picked up the chicken leg in the bowl and stuffed it into his mouth to block it. "Stop talking nonsense," I hurriedly explained to Michael. "Michael, don't get me wrong, we are just normal friends." Michael looked normal and even managed a smile, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "That's your freedom, no explanation needed." His tone was flat, with no ups and downs. I just breathed a sigh of relief. Michael suddenly stood up and looked like he was about to leave. He said he had something to deal with at the company and couldn't finish the meal with me, but of course he paid for the bill. Before leaving, he said to me, "Don't play too late, go home early." I had a bad feeling that Michael had misunderstood something. After Michael left, Alan came close to me and I pushed him away in annoyance. "Why are you being so horny? My boss will easily misunderstand you." Misunderstanding is a small matter, but making things difficult for me is a big matter. Alan didn't care. "What are you afraid of? If you quit, I'll support you." Alan is a rich second generation and can do whatever he wants, but I am different. I still have to rely on this job to support my family. I was in no mood to fool around with him and was trying to figure out how to explain it to Michael. Alan followed like a dogskin plaster. As we were walking, he suddenly stopped and stared at the shoes on my feet, as if he wanted to stare them through. "Why did you change your shoes? He gave it to you, right? Does he like you?" "It's just a pair of shoes." I don't know why he reacted so strongly. After knowing each other for so long, this is the first time I see Alan like this. "What are you thinking? Michael and I will never be together in this life or the next life." Michael is homophobic, and I am very self-aware of that. I was indeed bewitched by his cold and abstinent temperament before, but later when I heard that he didn't like men, I put this little thought aside. "Then why did he give you such expensive shoes?" Alan asked, almost gritting his teeth. I was annoyed by his questions, so I told him everything that happened today. After Alan learned the whole story, his frown gradually relaxed. I found that when he frowned, he looked very similar to Michael, just as creepy. He returned to normal and said dejectedly, "In that case, then return the things to others." I didn't understand what he meant, but soon he had someone send me a pair of identical shoes. "Give it back to him." I hesitated, but it's not that I don't want to pay it back, I just think it's inappropriate to do so. Alan forced it into my mouth. "Don't be a jerk, I'm helping you. Don't you think it's weird to accept favors from others for no reason?" But I think he's even weirder. However, I really didn't want to owe Michael a favor, and in the end I don't know how I convinced myself, but I just did it on the spur of the moment. I thought I'd take this opportunity to explain the relationship between Alan and me. I was thinking too naively. Michael just took a look and threw the box into the trash can without changing his expression. I looked at the box in the trash can and forced a smile. Michael continued to deal with the documents at hand as if nothing had happened. The only sound in the office was the slight friction of turning papers. I racked my brains but couldn't figure it out. What had I done wrong to him? After a while, he gently closed the file, raised his eyelids and looked at me. "Anything else?" "Fine." I walked away angrily. It turns out that he has always been prejudiced against me. I went back and told Alan about it. He bit the cigarette between his teeth, and after hearing my story, instead of showing any sympathy, he laughed so hard that he fell backwards. I stepped on the back of his foot and crushed it hard. I didn't let go until he begged for mercy. "Don't be upset, honey. How about we go out for a drink?" He came very close and I pushed him away with my elbow. He has been like this since I met him, not serious at all. "If you call me wife again, you will die." "Okay, Dad, are we going out tonight?" I hesitated. I was afraid of Michael. "Joshua, I know what you are thinking. Anyway, I will supervise you from now on. His words bound me tightly like a curse. But then I thought again and felt like I was stupid. Why shouldn't I allow it if he doesn't allow it? He is not anyone to me. I quickly convinced myself. After a few drinks, I felt a little excited. For the first time, I felt so good to disobey Michael. The boys Alan brought were very enthusiastic and we had a very pleasant chat. In the second half of the drinking session, Alan received a phone call and went out. Before leaving, he warned the boy, "Don't be so flirty. If you have any intention of hitting on him, you're doomed." I don't know what their relationship is, but it's definitely what I think it is. That boy was as rebellious as I was. After Alan went out, he stuffed a room card into my pocket, and the little good impression I had left of him completely disappeared. I still have my bottom line and I won't compete with Alan for the player. I reached out to take out the card, but he pushed it back. When he stood up and left, the smell of cheap perfume was left on my palms. I wanted to get up and run after him to return the card, but my legs felt weak and I sat back down. In my chaotic vision, I vaguely saw a man in a neat suit walking towards me. The outlines of his facial features gradually became clear in my field of vision. I sobered up instantly and stood up in a panic. "Joshua, are you ignoring my words?" "Michael." I subconsciously wanted to run away, but Michael was faster than me. He came over and caught me easily. I've seen parents come to bars to arrest people, but I've never seen a boss come to arrest his subordinates. The first time was accidental, but the second time must have been intentional. I was drunk and didn't have the strength to resist, but that didn't stop me from thinking viciously about how to make Michael cry. I looked everywhere for Alan, hoping he could help me out, but I couldn't find him after searching for a while. Finally, I was taken out of the bar by Michael. He stuffed me into his Cullinan. "Joshua, if I didn't come today, would you go to the hotel with him?" His tone was cold and a little creepy. "Why are you here?" He didn't answer me immediately. After a long time, he said in a depressed tone, "I was just passing by." Didn't he say he was just passing by? I suspected that he was deliberately lurking there and then finding a reason to fire me. I thought darkly in my heart. But facing his aggressive eyes, I still gave in and admitted my mistake. "I won't come to this kind of place anymore." "How dare you do it next time?" Michael didn't look very happy. He started the car. I didn't know where he was taking me and I didn't dare ask, for fear of angering him and having him make things difficult for me when I returned to the company. Halfway through the drive, I couldn't hold it in any longer. "Michael, I need to go to the bathroom." "Hold it." He said cold and heartless words, but finally stopped the car. "Where is this?" "My home." I was feeling a little sleepy, but I immediately perked up when I heard these words. I was surprised but also a little expectant. I wanted to see if he lived in Gwanghon Palace. Otherwise, why did he always treat people with such a cold attitude? But before I had the chance to appreciate his house, I was interrupted by Alan's call. "Where the hell are you?" Alan's tone was a bit fierce. It was the first time I heard him speak to me in such a cold tone. I told him about the situation here, and he was worried and wanted to come pick me up. When Alan came to pick me up, Michael was there too. He went right past Michael and took me away. This is not the first time these two have met, but I always feel that they don't get along, as if there is some deep hatred between them. I think it's because I always say bad things about Michael in Alan's ear that he doesn't like Michael. After I returned, Alan kept advising me to stay away from Michael. He even put the car keys in my hand in a flattering manner. "Wife, I'll let you drive my new car, and stay away from him from now on, okay?" After being caught twice, I became obedient. But I felt that after that time, Michael took even more care of me than before. He belittled the plan I made and said it was worthless. This makes me feel very embarrassed. He took me to revise the plan online, teaching me step by step, and we worked until the early morning. I had a pair of panda eyes and I really couldn't bear it. Write a message and send it to him. "I want to sleep, aren't you sleepy?" After sending the message, I fell asleep. The next day when I saw the news, I was shocked. I sent the message as, "I want to sleep with you." Michael responded, "Joshua, you actually want to sleep with me?" After a while, he sent another text message. Are you serious? Do you really want to sleep with me? No movement. Where are the people? Still no response. It was around 4 in the morning when he edited another message and sent it. First, the company does not allow office romances. Please correct your thoughts. Second, this is too direct and too frivolous. I'm sorry, I can't agree to it. My hands were shaking as I read the message. Did I express it wrong, or did he misunderstand it? I ran to Michael's office to explain. Michael, I didn't want to sleep with you. Bah. No, I sent the wrong message. So I'm being overly sentimental? Then who are you planning to send this message to? It's over. The more I explain, the misunderstanding gets deeper. I didn't mean to send it to anyone. I just made a typo, Michael. I secretly observed Michael's expression. After listening to my explanation, Michael's expression calmed down a little. Got it, let's go out and work. When I came out of the office, it felt a little unreal. He didn't mean to fire me. He also revised the plan that we had not completed yesterday on his own, and it was full of his marked suggestions for revisions. It's unbelievable. Because of this incident, I was a little distracted at work in the afternoon. Michael called my name 8 times during the meeting and asked me to summarize and report on the content of the meeting. I summed up the ball. The meeting was in a hurry, and I realized I had taken the wrong notebook after I entered the meeting room. It was the gay notebook that Alan stuffed in my mouth. I don't know where he got all these weird things from, and he stuffed them all at me. I can't summarize it. Michael is coming to spot check my notes. I wanted to stop him, but he had already taken the comic book. He opened the comic book and only read 2 pages, frowning. When he frowned, everyone held their breath involuntarily. It's over now. Michael's face looked very ugly. His cheeks, neck and ears instantly became full of blood, like a flaming mountain about to erupt. You can tell he's really angry. He closed the comic book, put his clenched fist to his nose and coughed twice. The expected scolding did not come. He came to me and tapped on my desk with his slender fingers. The thumping sound seemed to be striking on my heartstrings. After the meeting, bring your comic book and come to my office. In the conference room, everyone except me breathed a sigh of relief. They covered their mouths and whispered, Joshua is going to be in trouble this time. Didn't you see how grim Michael's face looked just now? Michael just asked me to print out a dismissal letter. Isn't it for Joshua? I feel a little uncomfortable. In fact, I could clearly feel Michael's disgust towards me without them saying anything. Just now I was feeling lucky that he didn't fire me because of that misunderstanding, but now I think about it, it turns out he was just holding it in. I regret it. I should have listened to Alan and submitted my resignation application on my own initiative. 7. Don't confront him head-on. It's no big deal to look at the notebook when you're bored at work. Just go in and admit your mistake first. Besides his bad temper, Michael actually has many good qualities. Good qualities? Well, forget it, I can't summarize them for now. Anyway, I wish you good luck. My colleagues gave me advice. It was as if I was not going to Michael's office this time, but to the execution ground, where the Rakshasa and the devil were waiting for me. I knew this day would come, but I didn't expect it to come so soon. Damn it. I quit. Even clay figures have some spirit. Under his leadership, I live like a grandson every day. I have to be controlled even when I go to a bar. My parents don't care about me, so why should he care about me? With a lot of resentment in my heart, I went to Michael's office and kicked the door open. In the past, I would knock on the door respectfully and only open the door after getting his permission, but this time I would not indulge him. Michael frowned when he heard the noise. Joshua, what's wrong with you? I drank half a bottle of Jiang Xiaohe before coming in. I took advantage of the alcohol and came in front of Michael. He ripped off the work badge from around his neck and slammed it onto Michael's desk. I quit. Don't talk to me like that again. Michael just frowned and sat calmly opposite me, making me look like an unreasonable idiot. Reason? I was so angry that I almost vomited blood. How could he have the nerve to ask such a question? To be honest, I want to pin him to the ground, slap him hard, and smash his arrogant face. But when it really came to the moment, I changed my mind. I stared at his thin lips, grabbed his collar and pulled him towards me, and kissed him in revenge. Michael is afraid of homosexuals, so I'm going to disgust him to death today and make him never forget me for the rest of his life. This is crazy. Joshua, be reasonable. The noise got so loud that people outside came running in. The voices around me were all trying to persuade me, but I couldn't listen. When I let go of Michael, he was already stunned, standing there straight, like being struck by lightning. The emotions that had been suppressed for so many days were finally released at this moment. You want a reason? Fine, I'll give you one. That day at the bar, you asked me if I liked men? I'll tell you now. Yes, I do like men. Not only that, I also liked you. You wear a suit and walk around in front of me every day, which is no different from seducing me. I dream of tearing off your disguise and making you cry. My mouth spoke out what I wanted to say as quickly as a machine gun. Michael was not irritated by my words. He ran his fingertips over the place where I kissed him, and his thin lips were glowing red. So, you're confessing to me? I was stunned by his question, and was blocked by the even more dirty words that followed. What's his train of thought? Can't you hear that I'm disgusting him? The sharpness that was maintained with great difficulty suddenly became like a deflated balloon. Guilty? Why, you want to kill me? My righteous look made Michael laugh. When he finished laughing, he frowned and asked me, Joshua, are you serious? I twitched my cheek muscles, and of course I meant it. But I feel that there is murderous intent on the other side. I value my life and don't want to die young. Just treat it as a fart. After I said that, I turned and ran. As a result, his forehead hit the door panel directly, and it felt like his brain was knocked out. When I opened my eyes again, I had been sent to the hospital. At the same time, memories from before the time of getting drunk came flooding back. Not only did I forcefully kiss Michael, I also said such brazen words. He reached out and touched his lips, kissing Michael's soft touch, as if it happened just a second ago. I felt my face was burning, and the hot flashes gradually spread from my face to my whole body. 11. I don't plan to go back to the company. But the strange thing is that it's been a day since I went crazy, and I haven't received any dismissal letter yet. That's not like Michael. Before being discharged from the hospital, I sent Michael a letter of resignation. After sending the email, I asked a colleague with whom I have a good relationship to pack up my personal belongings and send them to me. After doing this, I checked my ticket home. I haven't been home for many years. I miss home a little. Several years ago, I had a falling out with my parents over my sexual orientation, and I have had very little contact with them since then. After graduation and starting work, I was out of their control and didn't want to go back and listen to their nagging. Last year, my mother called to inform me that our house was demolished and they had to pay a lot of compensation. She asked me to go back and identify the entrance to my home so that I wouldn't be unable to find it when they passed away in the future. I hesitated for a long time, but finally called my mother. When she heard that I was going back to see them, she was so excited that she was incoherent and talked to me on the phone for a long time. Your father has already come to terms with it. You can live with whoever you want. We have no problem marrying a dog. As long as it's not a vicious dog, when we die in 100 years, you will inherit the family inheritance. I talked to my mom for a while and felt so guilty that I wanted to slap myself. After hanging up the phone, I went to the back end to check the ticket information and found that the ticket had not been booked yet, but the resignation letter was sent back first. The other party rejected your resignation application. My heart skipped a beat when I saw the news. Is this Michael's new way of revenge? After thinking it over, I decided to call Michael first to find out what he was going to do. The call was picked up quickly. Michael was not surprised at all when he received my call, as if he had expected me to call him. In fact, I have always been timid, especially when facing an aggressive man like Michael. His brows furrowed, and I couldn't help but wonder if I had done something wrong. Only when you are drunk would you dare to say such words to disgust him. Now that I am sober and facing him, I feel a little hesitant. I took a deep breath and bluffed. Michael, what do you mean? I've already submitted my resignation. Why can't you let me go? Michael didn't respond to my question and changed the subject. Are you feeling better? His words confused me. I was fully prepared to take his attack, but in the end, it turned out that I was a bit petty. No, I'm fine. Since everything is fine, come back to work. Your colleague can't handle it alone. His tone was calm, as if what happened before was just a dream of mine. I have already submitted my resignation letter. Yeah, I know. Then you're letting me go back? He said simply, so I refused. His next words seemed to be carefully considered. Joshua, your plan isn't that bad. I was too harsh on you. When I heard this, I felt so wrong that I almost cried. The tears rolled around in my eyes and then I held them back. Also, I shouldn't have interfered with your private life. I was wrong. Joshua, I apologize to you. I'm sorry. Please don't quit. The company needs you. He said, I need you too. The amount of information was a bit overwhelming and I was dizzy with his words. What does he need me mean? Is that what I understand? I always thought I was dispensable in the company. However, he was willing to put aside his pride and apologize to me today, which gave me enough way out. I was not so ungrateful as to just follow his words. I asked tentatively, are you trying to keep me? Michael said softly, yeah, kind of. But I've decided to leave here. Give you a raise. How many? You drive. 50,000. Make a deal. I twisted my arm and gasped in pain. Then I knew I wasn't dreaming. The conditions he offered were very tempting, but I promised my mother that I would go back to see her. If you had contacted me earlier, maybe I would have stayed, but not now. Why not? I promised my mom that I would go back to see her this week. The other party stopped talking. There was a long silence on the phone. After a long time, the low voice sounded again. Joshua, you really don't remember me? The topic changed so quickly that I was stunned for a moment. Remember, my former boss? Quote, I packed my things to leave the hospital and ran into Michael as soon as I left the ward. He leaned his tall body against the cold wall, as if waiting for someone. I was startled by him. No, why are you calling me at the door? After asking this question, I felt something was wrong, as if I was the one calling him. Never mind. Michael put the phone back. I'll pick you up from the hospital. I went over to check the temperature of his forehead and I suspected that he was the one who needed to make an appointment. It wouldn't be surprising if anyone came to pick me up, but it was a bit scary if Michael came to pick me up. When my hands touched his skin and I forcefully kissed him, the scene was vivid in my mind and my face started to burn again. The fingers that had just touched his forehead curled up and he quickly withdrew his hand. No need, I have all my limbs intact and can go back by myself. Before I leave, I want to ask you a few questions. You can decide to leave after I ask you. I obeyed his commands and didn't dare to lift my feet even a step. I reasonably suspected that he was here to sanction me. Because I kissed him, he will definitely not let me off easily. I knew what was happening and put my hands together to beg for mercy. Michael, I apologize to you. I was drunk that day and didn't mean to kiss you. I have realized my mistake. I promise to stay away from you in the future, okay? I admit that I am a coward. How about you deduct half a month's salary from me? A month? Seeing that he still didn't budge, I gritted my teeth and said, 2 months at most, no more. Michael looked a little helpless. What on earth are you talking about? I was slightly stunned. Aren't you coming to call the police to arrest me? If I call the police, you can still stand here and talk to me without any harm? That's true. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. So what do you want from me? Michael said, since you brought up this issue, we should also talk it over. My knees felt weak. What? Everyone in the company is discussing this matter. At least give me an explanation. My smile froze. What do you want to explain? His dark eyes looked at me deeply. It's very simple. Just tell me, was what you said that day just a spur-of-the-moment speech, or was it true? I was a little embarrassed. What did you say? You said you like me? He said this without blushing or feeling nervous. I am the only one who feels confused. Only I knew that I had a crush on him, and I had never told anyone. The purpose of speaking my mind that day was to disgust him. But I didn't expect him to ask so directly. You are too cold. I don't deserve to like you. He was a little disappointed. So you don't hate me? Why do I hate you? If he wasn't meddling in my business, I wouldn't distance myself from him. What if I chase you? The statement was so shocking that it left me completely stunned. It took me a full minute to digest the news. You? Are you kidding me? Besides, it's not like you can't accept homosexuality. Michael frowned and said helplessly, "Who told you that?" Now it was my turn to be stunned. Isn't this a well-known fact in the company? Before I could open my mouth, a voice behind me interrupted what I was going to say. Joshua. Michael and I turned around at the same time and saw it was Alan. I don't know when he came or what he heard, but he looked at us gloomily. He simply ignored Michael's presence and came up to hug me. He was so close that his voice resonated so strongly that it was hard for me to ignore his presence. Joshua, I think I still like you better. Let's continue dating. If Michael was weird today, then Alan was crazy today. Alan, what's wrong with you? Joshua, don't play dumb. Alan's voice was heavily bitten as he spoke next to my ear. His warm breath sprayed all over my cochlea, and the tingling feeling made me shrink my neck. He said, I have always liked you, you know that. I had a bad feeling that Alan said these words on purpose for Michael to hear. Didn't we agree to just be friends? I regret it. I glanced at Michael next to me and saw him with his head down, wondering what he was thinking about. Alan didn't give me a chance to be distracted and continued, I've decided to pursue you again. Stop it. Who's messing with you? I reached out and pushed him twice, but he didn't move at all. Then I realized he seemed serious. He only calls me by my name when he's serious. Michael came in front of me with Alan between us. Joshua, I'm waiting for your answer. After he said that, he turned and left. Alan let me go only after Michael left. I was a little angry and punched Alan in the chest. Are you sick? I tried to chase Michael, but he pulled me back. Joshua, why are you panicking? Why am I panicking? I'm afraid Michael will misunderstand my relationship with him. You like him? I felt a little guilty, and although I didn't admit it, I believed he had guessed it. Xiao Yang looked at me gloomily. Michael has no good intentions in approaching you. Don't let his appearance fool you. Joshua, I like you too, why can't you see my good side? Where I couldn't see, his eyes had turned red and his eyelashes were wet. I don't know what happened to him today, it makes me feel strange. Why didn't you ask me to watch you when you went to the bar to meet young guys? Alan was silent for a while before speaking. Nothing happened between him and me. I have prepared myself mentally for a long time over the years. I have decided that as long as you don't leave me, I can do nothing. I found that my understanding of him was too superficial, or even that I didn't understand him at all. I couldn't help but scold him. Fuck you, Alan, I always regarded you as my best friend. Alan was scolded by me and murmured in dissatisfaction, Do I need a friend like you? I sneered, feeling bitter in my heart. He certainly had no shortage of friends or companions. When I first got together with him, he confessed to me that he had experienced a bad relationship in the past and hoped that I would be his final destination, but the next moment he went to flirt with the new junior. So I broke up with him, saying that I wanted to be the one mentioned above, but he disagreed and settled for being friends. Then don't be friends anymore. I pushed his hand away and insisted on leaving. He realized that he had said the wrong thing and apologized to me in a panic. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. I returned the car keys to him, but never said the cruel words. You should reflect on this carefully. 15. When I came out, Michael hadn't left yet. He was leaning against the body of the Cullinan smoking. He was a little surprised to see me come out, and his hand holding the cigarette paused noticeably. When I came up to him, he had already put out his cigarette. I don't know if my memory is disordered, but I remember that Michael was a person who lived a disciplined and regular life, did not smoke or drink, and was boring. But today, seeing him smoking skillfully broke my stereotype of him. I walked closer and the smell of tobacco lingered in my nose. Actually, as things have developed to this day, I have noticed some clues. I feel that Alan's sudden madness today may not be because of me, but what are you hiding from me? Michael didn't say anything, but just said to me calmly, I'll explain it to you in the car. In fact, considering what happened before, we can probably guess a little bit. When I first met Michael in the bar, Alan's reaction was much more extreme than mine. After we got back, he kept urging me to quit. They obviously didn't know each other, but their hostility was so great that it was about to overflow. And the way Michael looked at me that day, I seemed to understand that he was not looking at me, but at Alan behind me through me. The car started moving slowly. I couldn't help but ask him, "Can you tell me now?" 16. Michael stared ahead, as if considering something. Every minute and every second is torture for me. I really want to know. It was a long time before he spoke. Alan is my half-brother. Fortunately, they are brothers, not lovers. I soon realized something was wrong. Is this world crazy, or is there something wrong with my hearing? Are they brothers? I suddenly remembered something and looked at Michael in disbelief. So, you are... The boy's profile gradually took shape in my mind. Michael's mouth curled up slightly. You finally remembered me. I have always remembered you for these 5 years, Joshua. I was surprised again and again. I didn't expect that the boy in the white shirt who played the piano would become a business tycoon many years later. I thought he would appear on the screen or on the stage. Summer vacation 5 years ago. I went to Alan's house to play. Michael and his cousin were practicing in the piano room. Alan took me to say hello to him. Michael was even more aloof at that time than he is now. He just raised his eyelids and said, perfunctorily to me. The young version of Michael had slightly longer hair, covering most of his forehead, and only a pair of cold eyes could be seen. I didn't dare to look at him for too long and quickly looked away. Maybe because we are not familiar with each other, his reaction is normal. This is how I comfort myself. But after that, I invited him to play basketball with me several times, but he refused me every time with a lack of interest. I have a sensitive personality, and after being ignored and treated coldly over and over again, I thought he didn't welcome me, and gradually I became less willing to go to Alan's house. Michael asked me on the phone if I still remembered him. I thought of many possibilities, but I never thought that he was Alan's brother. Alan also seldom mentioned them in front of me because they had been at odds since childhood and had almost no interaction when they grew up. Michael has changed a lot, and no one would associate him with that gloomy boy. Don't you have anything to say to me? Michael's voice brought me back to reality from my memories. I had a lot of things to say, but I swallowed them back. So you're targeting me to get revenge on Alan? Michael smiled. I have never seen him laugh so happily, but there is no trace of happiness in him. I have never targeted anyone, including you. The fur ball fell to the ground, and I didn't choose to pick it up immediately. Instead, I picked up the string first. The more I tried to close the distance between us, the further it got away from me. By the time I decided to take that step, it was too late. I don't know how to love someone, and no one taught me how to love. The way I used was so bad that even I couldn't help laughing. I have tried my best, but things still go wrong out of control. It turned out that he was laughing at himself. I was silent for a long time. It was more of a shock. I didn't expect that the person I had a crush on was also secretly in love with me. What is this? I was about to speak when I was distracted by the sound of a sports car behind me. Alan is here. He forced Michael's car to stop, came over, opened the door, and dragged me away. Michael approached you just to get revenge on me. Do you have to be so cheap to pay for him? I didn't stand firmly, my knees hit the ground hard, and my body was about to fall apart. Alan's face turned pale and he kept apologizing to me. I didn't mean it. I'm sorry, Joshua. I'm sorry, wife. What Alan said surprised me more than the pain in my body. I have never been as embarrassed as I am today. Am I also a part of your play? 16. Well, there was a problem at work, so I might be a few days late before I can get back. Okay, take care of yourself, I'm going to hang up now. After I hung up the phone with my mom, the doctor had already treated my knee injury. I looked at Alan, who was standing next to me, smoking silently. I walked up to him and punched him in the chest. I am the victim, why are you sad? Alan's hand holding the cigarette was shaking, and his eyes were bloodshot. I really didn't hide it from you on purpose. I just don't like him and don't want you to have any contact with him. Why don't you just hit me until you feel relieved? I took my hand back. Don't be silly, I'm not mad at you. Then can you talk to me? I'm really scared when you ignore me. What are you going to say? Is it really impossible for us? I knew he didn't really like me, he was just afraid that Michael would take me away, so he just treated me as his private property. I was stupid too. In fact, I should have guessed it when Alan asked me to return the shoes. But I still chose to believe him. I patted his shoulder and said goodbye to him. You have always been my good friend. I have something else to do and I'm leaving first. Take care of yourself in the future. I think he should understand my choice. Only after I walked away did Alan throw away the cigarette in his hand and strode towards me. I'll take you there. I want to go back to the company. Alan nodded silently and walked in front of me. 17. The day I left City A, Michael's cousin came to see me and showed me a thick stack of photos. All of the photos above were taken from various angles and in different occasions during my college years. There were even photos of me being hit on the head with a basketball while playing. When I was hit on the head by the ball, I was completely dazed and could only sit on the ground to rest. It was noon and the floor was like a burning hot pot. It was extremely uncomfortable to sit on it. Someone handed me some water and I took it and poured it over my head to cool down. The person handing me the water had his back to the light, so I couldn't see his face clearly. He asked me if I needed help. I was already feeling very uncomfortable at that time, but I didn't know him, so I just waved my hand and said no. Later I fainted on the playground. They said that a senior took me to the infirmary. Later we never found out who that person was. I didn't expect that person to be Michael. My brother really loves you. He didn't dare to tell you because you are Alan's classmate and he was afraid that you would be stuck in the middle and feel awkward. Later, when you interviewed at my brother's company, he was very happy for a long time and repeatedly told me not to interfere with you. Also, my brother went to the bar that day specifically to celebrate your birthday. He had prepared the gifts and wanted to pretend that we ran into each other by chance, but he didn't expect Alan to be there too. He has no idea of romance. He deserves to be single. That day Michael's sister talked to me a lot about Michael. After listening to this, I felt more complicated. I didn't expect that he had been following me for so long. I think I met him on the first day of my freshman year, but then I forgot about him. But no matter what, I can't agree to be with him. If I stay with him, what about Alan? Our relationship is so strange. No matter whether we advance or retreat, there will always be someone who is sad. I might as well just leave. My brother didn't know I was here. These are my personal actions. Michael's sister put the photo album away. I shamelessly asked her for a photo of me from high school. She hesitated for a while, but finally took it down and gave it to me. This is a secret between us. Don't tell my brother. If he knew there was one photo missing, he would definitely kill me. Thank you for what you told me today. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how important I am in his heart. I said goodbye to her and prepared to enter the station to check my ticket. But when I turned around, I saw a familiar figure standing opposite me. We looked at each other in silence. Although he didn't say anything, it seemed like he said a lot. Time seems to have gone back to the day when the freshman entered the school 5 years ago. Extra 1. The person I like seems to have amnesia. The first time I met Joshua was on the day of freshman orientation. It was really hot that day and he was dragging a large silver suitcase, and his cheeks were sunburned red. He stood opposite me and looked at me for a long time. I thought he was very rude. But later I realized that he was not looking at me, but the school map next to me. Senior, how do I get to dormitory building F? I was a little embarrassed and was about to stand up and show him the way, but he refused. Senior, just show me the way. I'll find it myself. I showed him the way, he thanked me politely, then put the suitcase on his shoulder and walked away humming a little tune. To be honest, it was a bit shocking. This is the first time I have met a boy with such a cheerful personality. I compare him to the little sun in my mind, and I am the sunflower that needs to rely on him to grow. Wherever he goes, I can't help but look at him. Not long after he entered school, he began to be surrounded by friends with different faces. It can be seen that he is very popular in the class. But not long after, I saw him walking with Alan. They were talking and laughing, and it hurt my heart. I decided to stop paying attention to him after that. But I didn't expect that we would meet again soon. During the summer vacation, Alan took the boy home. He followed Alan and called me brother. I was very angry and responded to him coldly. Later he invited me to play basketball again. I was actually very happy, but because of Alan, I directly refused. Seeing his lost expression, I actually wanted to change my words. Later he stopped inviting me or even coming to my house. I regret why I had this attitude towards him. I knew very well that it was impossible to be with him, and as time went by, I buried this not-so-nice memory deep in my heart. It wasn't until many years later that I reunited with that amnesiac junior. But he still forgot me. His academic qualifications were really not good enough compared to so many top students, and he was rejected in the first exam. I told the interviewer that I would interview this person in person. After not seeing each other for many years, he still seemed to be afraid of me. He always felt uncomfortable in front of me and called me Michael in a respectful way. In fact, I prefer him to call me Senior. Extra twee alle. I hate Michael's condescending attitude. He hates my mom for coming into the relationship between his parents. So I have never been treated well since I was a child. He hates me and I hate myself too. If I had a choice, I wouldn't want to be the son of a third party. Because of this identity, I was often excluded and bullied at school, but he turned a blind eye. I held a grudge and planned to take revenge on him. I noticed that he has been paying special attention to a boy in the class next to mine recently. I hid in the shadows, watching them like a sewer rat. Michael seemed to like him very much and even took secret photos of the boy playing basketball. Pretending to be righteous on the surface, but doing such disgusting things behind the scenes. I stole the photos when Michael was not at home, intending to put them on the confession wall to humiliate him. When I saw the boy's true face, I changed my mind again. I approached him and even confessed my love to him, and later we actually got together. My original intention of being with him was to disgust Michael, but after getting to know him, I gradually developed strange feelings towards him. I really like him. Because he is different from others, he doesn't look at me with tinted glasses. After Joshua and I got together, Michael became sick from anger. I brought some fruit to visit him in the hospital and showed him a photo of Joshua and I. The bad side is fully revealed. He overturned the fruit and chased me out. I bent down, smiled and picked up the fruits on the ground one by one and put them back into the basket. I am very satisfied. But then I went too far and Joshua broke up with me. I don't want to lose him, so I have to settle for being a good friend. After graduation, Joshua told me that he found a job. I was happy for him, but when I saw that he was interviewing at our parent company, I was nervous. I was afraid that Michael would take advantage of the situation, so I started trying to persuade him to quit from the first day he joined the company. As long as he left there, I could help him find a more suitable and ideal job or let him run a game company for me. Although the conditions were very tempting, he still rejected me. He said he didn't want to waste the knowledge he had learned over the years and he found the job very challenging. He is really cute. If you knew my dark side, would you still treat me the same way you do now?